Hello friends, Heidi here from Rain Country. God is good all the time. And I'm here today to talk about quinine, cinchona bark, and grapefruit, especially the grapefruit peels, but grapefruit as a whole, and to try to clear up some confusion on these various things and hopefully just get you some more information about them that you might find helpful all the way around. So really this started because I was trying to learn more about cinchona bark in the first place. Then I started coming across some really odd information where people were making basically a decoction out of grapefruit peels and lemon peels as well, and calling it quinine or hydroxychloroquine, which neither of these is true. On further research, I could not find any scientific data that would equate a grapefruit peel extract or even lemon peel extract to quinine, because they're different things. Now, grapefruit on its own, the whole fruit, the peel and the fruit itself, have many great beneficial properties to them, and I want to talk a little bit about that. But I do also want to clear up the fact that they are different, and they do different things within the body as far as helping with ailments and preventing disease. So first, let me go ahead and talk some about the benefits of grapefruit as a whole. This includes the fruit and the peel. Grapefruit is really good at helping to promote weight loss as well as being a good appetite suppressant, and it's good at helping with diabetes. It's very good for heart health and reducing the risk of kidney stones, and it's also a very good immune booster and antioxidant. So it's loaded with lycopene, vitamin C, vitamin A. So you can usually tell when something's got a lot of beta carotene in it because of the color. So right here I have some dehydrated grapefruit peels that I left whole, and then this jar here is grapefruit peels that I powdered up. Now, the initial purpose for the powdered up ones was back when I was making soaps for the store. I would add these to the soaps to add more aroma as well as texture and benefits into the soap, because grapefruit can be very good for your skin and your hair as well, which is why I use the essential oil in my homemade skin cream. Now, one interesting thing about the grapefruit is that if you know anything about lycopene is one of those, it's a really great antioxidant that is helpful at fighting and preventing cancer. Whenever you've got fruits or vegetables that are high in lycopene, such as tomatoes for instance, the more that you cook them down, the more lycopene you're releasing. So making a decoction out of grapefruit peels, just keep in mind it's going to be very bitter because it's bitter, will help release more of the lycopene. However, the cooking will also kill off the vitamin C, so you're trading one for the other. Now, here's something else I want to cover in this video that I don't think I say enough that's really interesting, that when you're looking into any fruit, vegetable, or herb and their health benefits, a lot of times you're going to come across warnings. In the case of grapefruit, yeah, there's people that shouldn't be taking it, and guess who those people are? There are people on various different medications. And in most cases, when you're looking at warnings when it comes to herbs, fruits, and vegetables and how they interact with other drugs, what that means is it makes those synthetic pharmaceuticals pretty much useless. So what that should tell you is that these natural, God-given things that help with our health are doing a good enough job that you're wasting your money and your health by taking the synthetic pharmaceuticals that cause more symptoms often than they cure, and then you have to take more pharmaceuticals to cure those symptoms. And they don't cure them, they just cover them up is all they do. So going more natural just makes more sense all the way around. It's going to be cheaper, it's going to be better for you in the long run, and then you don't have to worry about the drug interactions that you're going to have. Now, most of the times, that's what it is. Now, yes, there's cases where people are allergic or might have some gut issues that make them more sensitive to certain herbs and so on. So obviously, those are things you have to look into as well. But yes, medications are the top thing that are the warnings when you're taking anything natural in a medicinal form. So now let me talk about the cinchona bark. So first, let me say hydroxychloroquine and quinine are not the same thing. Some people think they are the same thing, but they're not. The difference is that quinine is the natural alkaloid that is found in cinchona bark, and then the pharmaceutical called hydroxychloroquine. It contains a synthesized version of quinine. Though they may have the same function, they're going to have other things along with them because it's not natural that can cause other issues. Now, it is supposed to be a pretty safe drug, but I don't trust anything that's made by Big Pharma. No matter how safe they claim it to be, I would rather go to the natural source. So you got to understand how Big Pharma works, or how pharmaceutical companies work in general, is that one reason they started synthesizing quinine was that it's a lot cheaper to do that. And that's usually the case all the way across the board. It's sort of like white willow bark was the main ingredient for aspirin that then eventually got synthesized. So now, because it's a lot cheaper, but they can still charge more for it if they want, because now they also own the patent on that. So it's not necessarily for the sake of your health, it's so that they can make more money rather than relying on the natural source. So when I started looking into this, because I'm always skeptical about anything, when everybody was talking about hydroxychloroquine and this and that and blah, 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 I was very skeptical. Not skeptical at whether or not it actually worked for the things that they were claiming, but more skeptical as how good is that for us to be taking in the first place? Why not find out what they were basing it on? Because almost every pharmaceutical that's out there is based on something that was found in nature in the first place, that then they synthesized. So that was when I learned about cinchona bark, and then started doing a little more research, and then a little more research here and a little more research there. And so I bought some right away and then just put it away for a while, forgot all about it. Then finally, several months ago, it was September, I pulled it out and decided to start extracting it once I learned a little bit more about it. So what you have to understand about quinine in the cinchona bark, even though it was used in the powdered form for hundreds of years, and it was quite effective against malaria and viruses as well, they found to be able to get more quinine out of the bark, the best way to do it was extract it in a high-proof alcohol. So this is one of those cases where using a high-proof alcohol to extract, you're going to get more of your quinine out of your cinchona bark by doing it that way. Just extracting it in a, like maybe a glycerin water concoction isn't going to do the same thing as a high proof alcohol. So in this case, I did use vodka, but you can still brew it into a tea. Now, if you start looking into this, you're going to find a lot of scary information out there, and you have to look at who is funding that. But just like with anything natural, obviously you have to take care. Consuming too much cinchona bark can cause vomiting and nausea, so obviously you got to really be careful at how much you're using. But I was surprised at further research that how much you could actually take of the powder itself. And because I want to understand, before I get into if I ever need to actually use this, I need to understand how much is safe to take. So you're going to take less in a highly concentrated extract form like I have here. You can see how dark this is than you would if you're taking it in the powder form, because you're actually extracting the quinine from there. But what I want to do is I'm going to link to you the actual scientific .gov based page that talks about the benefits of cinchona and how it actually works. Because another thing that quinine is really good for, and you, by the way, can buy just quinine as an extract. I looked on Amazon just out of curiosity, just again, pay attention to the name of it. And you can actually buy that. And I was reading different people's reviews that had actually been buying it and using it, and it has helped them a lot with leg cramps. Even though one site over here might tell you, well, there's no scientific proof, I saw testimony after testimony after testimony of people saying that it really did work for their leg cramps. So especially those of you who get leg cramps at night when you're trying to sleep, quinine can be very helpful for that. So yes, you can buy it already made up, which is going to tell you the proper dosage that you need to take, and that might be the safer way to go. Me, I'm all about trying to be as self-sufficient as possible. So I made this. I haven't started taking it yet. I've tasted it, and yes, it's quite bitter, as it should be. So I think that's one of the correlations, though, between the grapefruit and the cinchona bark, is that they're both very bitter. And bitters have a lot of benefits to the body. So let me talk about some more of the things that cinchona bark, just as a whole, is good for and has been used for centuries. But some of this information I also found on more modern scientific based websites, and that is, besides being an anti-malarial, it's antibacterial, antispasmodic, helps regulate heart rate. So if your heart is just constantly wanting to take off, the cinchona bark is good at helping to lower that down a little bit and just regulate it. I mentioned it's good for leg cramps. It's also very helpful for sore throats. It's been used for helping to cure dysentery, arthritis, and it's also been used in cold and flu remedies, and it's also antiviral and antiparasitic. So the dosages I was coming across here, let me go ahead and read these, but I still recommend you look at that link I'm going to give you and read through it the best you can. It's long, and some of it can be hard to read because it's all in scientific terms, but to help you better understand proper dosages, if you're going to take it in its more natural form, this is talking about an extract like I have here, or a powder. They're talking about 1.5 to 2 ounces per day, but you break that up into smaller amounts. Now, one of the reasons I thought that there was a possibility that there was this confusion between grapefruit and lemon peels as well, and then cinchona bark when it comes to making an antiviral that people are saying works the same as hydroxychloroquine, is that tonic water that's used in the drink gin and tonic is typically made using both cinchona bark and citrus peels. So I wondered if that's partly where that's actually coming from. I'm really not certain on that. I couldn't find any real proof of where that whole idea came from. But again, I'm not negating the benefits of making a decoction out of grapefruit peels, but they're just not the same thing. So legend has it, by the way, it's hard to say if this is actually any fact, that one of the reasons that the cinchona was combined with gin in the first place was to make it more palatable. That to me doesn't sound like it would be palatable, but I've never tried gin and tonic and I'm not interested. But that's what they say. But then I wonder, well, maybe the gin, because there's no actual proof there of where the drink even came from. I wondered if actually the gin was used to extract the quinine from the bark in the first place, since it is a high proof alcohol that works best at extracting quinine. Now, a couple of other interesting facts I wanted to let you know about is that if you buy tonic water, and like I recently got some from Misfits Market just to try it out. It is got a bitter flavor to it. Wasn't crazy about it. But if you take that tonic water and pour it into a glass and then shine a black light on it, it's going to glow. It is the quinine in that tonic water that's glowing. But what you also need to know is the quinine amount in that water is not very strong. There's not enough in there to do much for you health-wise. You're better off taking it as an extract. But then here's the other interesting thing. If you make an extract like this and you shine a black light on it, you're going to see very little to no glow. And you're going to think, there's no quinine in there. Well, that's not necessarily true, because when you see the quinine that's glowing, that's quinine that's been totally isolated from the bark, which is part of the reason you're not going to see any glow or very little glow. I was able to see it glow a little bit, but I wasn't sure if part of the glow that I was seeing is that, well, it's organic material and the black light is shining on it. It's actually hitting the particles in there. That could be where I was getting the glow, or it could have actually been coming from the quinine in there. So the picture I showed was actually some of the extract mixed with water, because I wanted to see if I got a better glow factor by doing it that way, so that it would be clearer, so the light could actually penetrate better. And I didn't really see much of a difference. And then I was concerned, well, did I get the right bark? Well, according to the package that I bought, I did get the right bark, and the flavor is so bitter that I'm certain I got the right stuff. So I had to do further research. So it's a quinine sulfate that you're going to actually see glow. I couldn't quite understand the process of how they go about making the quinine into a sulfate, or if it's once it's extracted fully and isolated, if that's then what it is. I don't understand the science on all that. Some of that stuff gets so hard to absorb when you're trying to learn all this stuff. So maybe those who know more about how that works can go ahead and share down below. But from what I understand, you're not going to see the quinine glow, or you're going to see very little glow when it's in its natural form within the bark, or even in the extract from the bark itself. So that is going to be normal. So don't get concerned if you get a quinine extract or you make one and you shine a black light on it and you don't see it glow. It does not mean the quinine is not present in that extract or in that bark. And by the way, if you want to know how I made this, I put about, here's the bark right here. This is what it looks like. It should be very red. That's the color. It does come in other colors, but it's the red Cinchona officinalis that you want. That's the color it should be. And then I filled each jar up. I wanted to make it pretty potent. So when I did 2 jars, and I filled one up each jar about halfway, and then topped it off with the vodka. As I noted, you can see it is pretty strong. So immediately the water will start turning a reddish brown. It's ready as it is right now, but I'm just going to leave it, as I do with any of my extracts. I just leave it until I'm ready to start utilizing it in something or for something, which I don't know that I ever will. I just want to know I have it on hand if I ever need it. And in that time, I still like learning more about it before I put it to use. So before you get into something like that, just know that anytime you start researching this stuff, when you start putting this stuff out there, especially this stuff in particular, the first sites that are going to pop up are the ones that are going to scare you away from using it. But you go to the actual scientific database on this, and it's very promising. There's actually some really good information in there that was not terrifying. So just make sure, as I'm always saying, you pay attention to the sites you're going, and that goes again with the natural websites, because there were natural-based websites that were going around spreading misinformation that a grapefruit lemon peel decoction is quinine, when it's not. It's not the same thing. So again, it might work just as well for many other things. I couldn't find any definitive answer of whether or not it works for the reason people are making it or not. But just understand there is a difference in that you have to be careful at the places you're going to. Look everything up. Don't just trust something because it was a Facebook meme or because it was your favorite natural-based website. Because as I shared in the video I did on I'm not a doctor and why I do what I do, there's a certain real popular natural-based website that's been out there for many years, and I used to follow it too until I saw some misinformation in there, and then found that the information was always parroted from other sources. There was recently a Facebook meme going around about how dandelion leaf is good for curing this, but no actual scientific data was being given, no hyperlinks. So what I did to find out if it was true, I started doing the research. I started looking it up, and bam, bam, bam. One of the first things I found was somebody trying to negate the particular doctor that made this claim. But that claim wasn't actually from that doctor. That claim, though this particular doctor was putting the information out there, he actually did get it from a scientific study. But I had to jump through a few hoops to get there, which started off, unfortunately, with this one natural-based website that I really don't go to anymore. And from there, though, I was still able to go, okay, let's look up some names, let's find out some more information. And from there, I was able to keep trailing back until I was able to get to the actual scientific data about the dandelion leaf to find out it was indeed true. So, but just because that one was true doesn't mean the other ones that are spread by these same places are always true. So you always got to trail it back, especially if you're going to put the information out there to help people or try to share with people. They're just not going to pay any attention to it. That was the other reason why I stopped sharing any information from that particular site, is people stopped paying attention because of some misinformation that was also being spread, just like the misinformation on people calling this decoction from the citrus peels hydroxychloroquine when it's not. It's something totally different. So they're not the same thing. So you got to make sure you get your information straight, or nobody's going to listen to you anymore if you're sharing it and it's not true and it's been proven not to be true. So that's several reasons why I wanted to get this video out there so you can understand the differences. Yes, these all are beneficial. They have good uses. And yes, there's scientific proof out there that the cinchona bark does work for many different things. So look into it for yourself and then use that information to share with other people. All right, well, I hope you enjoyed this video and any other information you want to share. Have you tried using quinine for anything, made your own extract from it, or even the decoction made from the citrus peels? How has it helped you for various different things, so we can all learn from each other? All right, well, thanks for watching. Take care and God bless.